going to be done are truly astonishing, but today imaginable, and it is only persistence that will bring them to be. That's why it's very important to preserve through any dark age, whether it lasts months or years, the psychedelic notion, a core of people who understand the amazing creativity that is resident in the human mind, because space is the human imagination calling us forward. Those structures can be built there. These paradises can be erected. There can be a millennium. There is no question about it. Any of you who are fans of science fiction know that science fiction is just a plethora of worlds and cultures and aliens and bizarre political situations. Well, it takes 6 light hours for a radio signal to go from the inner planets to, say, Pluto. And that means that within 12 light hours of the sun, these O'Neill-type habitats, which everybody agrees are technically feasible, could be erected. And that means a fantastic proliferation of experimentation in human social forms. I mean, it's possible to envision the solar system as a kind of human swarm world with thousands of these colony worlds, each pursuing the social dynamics that they had evolved or were interested in exploring, all suspended in a sphere of electronic communication and data transfer, such that they are living in the same day, the same solar system day, because it only takes 12 light hours for light to cross the solar system from one edge to the other. And this is a conservative future, a future which does not rely on any new technical breakthroughs or discoveries of great new natural principles, of which you may be sure there will be such discoveries. So if we can lift the lethal beast off our backs, we can go forward into a future that is endlessly bright. And we've heard all kinds of solutions suggested, from relaxing to dissolving it with analysis and discovering that everything is all right the way it is and everything is working out the way it is. I lean to believing that 80% of the time and worrying a great deal the other 20% of the time as a way to hang on. Anyway, I think I wanted to take this time this morning to say these things because I think it makes more immediate what to some people may have seemed very arcane yesterday, which was all the mathematical stuff. Someone said to me yesterday, if there's a narc listening in, what do you think he thought of the day-long exploration of higher mathematics? So, are there questions about this or anything that anyone wants to say?
Could you elaborate a bit on the concept of cybernetics?
Cybernetics. Yes, well, I said earlier that I thought a network like Mckenna is essentially, Micronet is this computer network on the source that we have organized for people with interests in this area, where you can log in and then, using a pseudonym, interact in any way you want. In other words, it's a new kind of public or quasi-public space where once you have entered into the network, you are totally anonymous, which is means totally free. There's a Japanese saying, the tourist need have no shame. Well, this is... No, it's absolutely true. So the tourist on the computer network need have no shame You can say anything, no one can find out who said it, and so you can speak your mind and communicate freely. That small beginning, typing away at the keyboard and sending e-letters to various mailboxes and interacting in this funny way, which is faster than the mail but slower than the telephone, is the beginning of a neural network, which in a few years, 4 years, 5 years, will have the ability to process visual data and much more high-resolution forms of data. Even at the present level, you are able to upload papers, and people can download them and read them. You can upload programs which people can run but not download but comment on, or download and comment on. In other words, it creates a kind of instantaneous linking together of people, which, I hate the mechanics of the computer. I mean, I just think it's completely obnoxious. But it's like learning to drive, but it's tougher than that. It's like learning to drive a sports car. But once you learn to drive it, then you can, there are these thrills. And I think that if people will cooperate and actually use the network and force themselves in a way to use it, in other words, don't call somebody, use the email, just make it part of your life, then the kind of community that we produce when we're here at Esalen can be carried over, not at such an intense level, but we won't each fall then back into our own groove. This then is going to be repeated on a massive scale and is being repeated. 9 million computers a month are being hooked into communication systems. And most of these are for the networking purposes of small management groups. This is the new organism which is taking shape, that is the organism which survives. Are electronically linked groups of like-minded people who have clearly defined their goals and are working together to achieve them. By being able to search and find people and then stay in touch with them, we become much more powerful on the socio-political dimension where this kind of progress is made. Okay, so that's one aspect about cybernetics. The more generalized aspect for society is that mind-machine interaction is going to become a major frontier for development and redefinition. And when that happens, the accretions of technology, the keyboard, the video display, all of this will begin to disappear. And it's not unreasonable to expect that eventually you will just access by thought almost. In other words, I take the hallucinogens as the model for the ideal computing system. The hallucinogens when they're working perfectly, when you can say in a psilocybin state, Art Deco, and millions of Art Deco objects begin drifting slowly through your field of vision, tumbling slowly, each one, the most perfect delineation of the Art Deco aesthetic that you've ever seen. And then you say, Hieronymus Bosch, and you're there. This kind of interaction with an invisible dimension of vast intelligence is coming to be. Now, I think that it's always existed in a wetware form. This is what shamanism is. This is what all societies end up building, whether they build it out of mushrooms, morning glories, and tobacco smoke, or silicon, copper, gold, and plastic, Everybody ends up erecting a cybernetic global network of information for transferring the information that they have culturally validated and seek to preserve. And we look at the people in the Amazon and say, how quaint, how primitive, so forth. We haven't the faintest notion of what's actually going on, how they know what they know, how they do what they do. When we were at La Chirera, it was uncanny how much the Witoto knew about things 100